The only thing more frustrating than wasted potential is paying for it. Today, let's talk about 5 horror movies that could have been amazing, failed miserably, and how we can fix them. Starting with The Purge. I mean, this is just like a classic example. One night per year, all crime, including murder, is legal. The film itself starts out quite promising. There's a montage that, yes, uses Claire de Lune, a bigger cliche there never was, but it is effective seeing various violence with a lovely tune in the background. The film establishes how much economics come into play. The wealthy can afford the best security systems, while the lower and middle class duke it out in the streets. Hell, it's all the more relevant now. I don't see much difference between the characters here praising the Purge while sitting in their secure homes, and comedians bitching about billionaires and cancel culture while performing for Saudi royals. But hey, it's all to provide for your family and your third beach house, am I right, fellas? The issue here is that after it's set up, the film pretty much drops all the interesting possibilities of a city-wide purge and becomes a standard, and I mean standard, home invasion film. People are being robbed, raped, and murdered in the streets, but let's focus on this one house, this one family, and a group of super generic killers. I don't know if this was a script or a budget problem, but it's a fucking problem. And aside from one tense fight scene, The Purge is so much blander than it should have been. How to fix it. This is the most obvious how-to today, and it's something the sequels tried to tackle, and that's to actually expand things to the city itself. What the sequels failed at least the ones I've seen, so you'll have to tell me if Purge election year is any good, is having engaging main characters that you can root for and a better rising of tension. So none of them really nailed it for me. And I think the perfect way to do this would be a sexy smooshing of the original and the sequels. Start with the original Purge, establish the situation, the characters, the security systems, and when they fail, the family has to escape the house where they felt so safe and venture into the same streets from which they hide. There, they not only had to confront the reality they're complicit in, but had to get help from the same lower class people that they shrugged aside. You could easily establish character traits through the action. Who's fast, who's strong, who has relevant skills, who doesn't. And in the downtime, establish interesting dynamics, like the men bickering over leadership and eventually becoming companions. The whole middle of this should have been in the streets, with crime at every corner, showcasing human nature at its most inhumane. The finale could do a full 180, with the rich characters bringing the poor characters back to their house and fighting together to reclaim it. There's so much room here for socioeconomic commentary, as well as entertaining battle royale-esque exploitation horror, but The Purge did the exact opposite of what it needed to do. It played it safe. This concept is punk horror, it's screaming against authority. It should feel like a raised fist, but instead we got a limp wrist. Oh, what could have been. Next is Trap. Let's be fair, all 5 of these could have been M. Night Shyamalan. And while Old is a solid choice due to its flat acting, horrendous camera work, and a twist less exciting than the one on a fucking Bop It, Trap is especially frustrating because in parts, there is fun to be had. Josh Hartnett's character takes his daughter to a pop concert, and it's revealed that not only is he a serial killer, but that the concert itself is set up to find and arrest him. Okay, so already the leaps in logic are absurd, and as the film goes on, those leaps turn into trampolines. But there is some enjoyment in watching the protagonist try to escape. Whether it's theft, manipulation, or a makeshift bomb, he is constantly using the environment and other people to protect himself. It's like The Fugitive, if The Fugitive were shit. The problem is that, well, it's a contemporary M. Night film. The acting is horrible, the dialogue is rushed, unnatural, and cringy, and the plot holes become so massive they're impossible to ignore. Once the pop star herself is pulled into the plot with all the grace of a drunken lasso, the story completely falls apart. It takes itself too seriously to be a trashy goof, and too stupid to be suspenseful. And I know this director has a fan base who haven't risen from his lap to breathe since Split came out, but you don't need a microscope to point out the flaws here. Nothing makes sense, the third act sucks, and I've seen better acting in a Darman video.
Rachel, listen to me! Your husband is the butcher! Cooper is the butcher!
How to fix it. Well, for starters, get rid of the whole idea that the entire concert is one elaborate setup, or that they're looking for someone without an actual picture of him. That's nonsense. Try reducing the venue, but if you really must have it at a huge concert, then at least fill those goddamn plot holes. If you change it so that the cops do know what he looks like, how about an improvised disguise? Also, fix your dialogue and your direction, M. Night. These people are speaking like aliens, and I fail to see how it enhances the mood or the plot.
Oh, sorry, I just needed some air. There was an accident in the kitchen. I freaked out. A friend got burned.
Again, if you want to go in that direction, you need to justify it. Get the singer out of the drama, please. You're asking us to 1. Believe these songs would be world famous, 2. Think she's interesting enough to feature as a major character, and 3. Root for her even though she live streams instead of calling the police. That's a lot to ask us, dude. In short, just make it make sense. I truly think this could have worked, and I'd like to see a concept like this again, but done right. But like any cat and mouse thriller, the plot has to be tight as a guitar string, and Trap is M. Night Shyamalan strumming the guitar after smashing it. It's not avant-garde, it's not bold, it's just broken. Next is Brightburn. Brightburn is about a child Superman who turns evil. Nice. We've seen darker shades of Superman or Superman types done in The Boys or Superman Red Sun, which is quite good, by the way. The issue is that Brightburn tries to sequel bait its concept rather than take advantage of it. Everything is so unnecessarily dragged out. Brightburn doesn't feel like a beautiful build to a satisfying conclusion, it's a mediocre slog, a loading time to start a game. There's a great bit of writing advice from Ben Yahtzee Croshaw that's pretty relevant here. Here it is. Is this the most interesting time of this character's life? And if not, why aren't you showing me that? Brightburn's best moments are in its end credits. That is not a good thing. Everything in this movie, from script to performance to directing, kind of felt like it was on autopilot. The switch from normal kid to supervillain is as abrupt and unsatisfying as Anakin Skywalker hopscotching to the dark side, and it's about an hour of dull piddling about. How to fix it? The film feels like one long, uneventful first act until it speed runs through its second and third acts. Man, would Brightburn benefit from better pacing. First act. A bullied, antisocial kid struggles with identity and begins to develop powers but can't quite harness them. His parents are too caught up with their own issues to properly address their child. Maybe a divorce is on the rise. Maybe they're abusive. Anything other than the equivalent of Kal-El, no, that we ended up getting. Second act. His powers develop rapidly. He experiments and begins to torture both animals and eventually bullies. By the end of the second act, the authorities are involved and he is on the run. The parents have one last heartbreaking confrontation with him, and they try to both discipline him and apologize for not being better parents. They confess that he is not of this earth, but insist that he is still their son. The child hesitates, but eventually leaves. The entire third act, the boy goes on a rampage, destroying institutions that, for him, represent repression, like schools, and eventually he is cornered by the military. He is contained, but once the parents learn that the government intends to brainwash him and turn him into a weapon, they either try to release him or try to shut off his life support, knowing that he will just cause more damage. Either way, he escapes and flees the planet. Look, I'm not saying this is perfect, and it would probably need some adjustments for budget, but this is just me spitballing while drinking a Dr. Pepper. Regardless, the transition to violence should be more gradual, akin to real-life serial killers. The parental relationship should be more dramatic, and the large-scale action shifted to the third act rather than the goddamn end credits. The movie Chronicle wasn't perfect, but still gave us a good sense of scale and drama even with the small price tag. So like Shia LaBeouf said, do it! Next is Shrooms. A group of idiots jump into a rusted van and visit the countryside to find and take shrooms, and they start dying one by one. I don't know. I don't know with this movie. Okay, good things first. Jack Houston does a solid job with what he was given. The poster is good, and there's a talking cow.
You know you're fucked.
Yes.
But the dialogue, good Christ. Just watch the first 5 minutes of this thing. Some of the dialogue at the airport is so cringy you could go into cardiac arrest. The characters have LA driver IQs, their decisions are baffling, and they fight so much it's a wonder why they even spend time together. And to top it off, we have the holy trinity of bad twists. It's predictable, unoriginal, and makes no sense. Unlikable pricks bickering in the forest is nothing new for horror, but the biggest sin here is that this is most of the movie. Bad dialogue, sloppy chase sequences, total lack of scares, and corny attempts to replicate being high. It's got that mid-2000s editing where it's all zooms and sped up footage. This is a drug horror film, something I still think has more room to explore, but the messy editing and camera work doesn't make this feel like Shrooms at all. Not much separates this from a typical slasher when you really get down to it.
My feet are killing me. Dolce & Gabbana are hardly adequate outdoor footwear.
Well, maybe if you took better care of yourself, your boyfriend wouldn't have to check me out every time you turn your back. You guys can't fight, please!
How to fix it. First, change this color scheme. This dark blue color correction makes me think of Ghosts or Harry Potter or God forbid Twilight. Second, do some research into hallucinations. Hate it all you want, Midsommar did their homework as far as how a Shrooms trip looks and feels. Also, don't rely on the cuts or even the camera work as much as the visuals themselves. Let the camera linger. After all, stoners stare. And this is just an option, but maybe make the plot play out like a bad trip. The initial nervousness, the early effects, then the shift to darkness and paranoia, then the horrible moment when you actually know it's going bad, then that one golden moment of euphoria, then back to horror. Sounds like you've done this before, Clay. Shh. Better dialogue and presentation would go a long way to improving this, but honestly, I think making the experience feel like a drug would be a huge win. With the right visuals, performances, and a plot that's more trip and less tripping on shoelaces, it could totally work. Seriously, someone remake this. And last up is HIM. Yeah, you knew this had to be here. I think it's fair to say that the two factors that got this so much hype was, one, a lot of people thought Jordan Peele directed this. He didn't, by the way, he only produced it. And two, it's a sports horror film, a virtually untouched concept that I found fascinating. And then I watched it. Whew, yeah. I could spend an hour talking about the underwhelming performances, the messy themes, the editing that made this feel like 90 individual TikToks, the fast-forward finale, or just how stupid and edgy this all came across, but like I said, that would take an hour. Instead, I'll just read my favorite reviews from Letterboxd. I imagine if current Kanye West was asked to direct a horror film, this would be the result. This must be what having CTE feels like. Almost an admirably stupid movie. Just make a music video. A24 levels of this isn't much of a horror movie, but we're marketing it as one. The fuck? I'm not sure how a movie with so much going on is so boring. The more awful this gets, the more confident it is that's doing something deep. A heaping pile of pretentious pile of shit from a butt. How to fix it. HIM needs a full reset. There are just too many elements here to juggle, and with dialogue this corny and editing this choppy, the film can't do any one element particularly well. I mean, there's some nice shots, but they mean nothing. If sports horror is the main appeal, can we get rid of the cult angle with all the obvious iconography? The hallucinations don't serve any purpose other than providing half-second visuals for the trailer. Can we kick those out too? Did we need the zombie-like fans or the rushed reveal at the end? Also, you may want to hire an actor with a bit more charisma. I know people like him shirtless, but come on, he could have done better. We need to break this down to nuts and bolts. Obsession and injury. Let's focus on that. How is his body changing from all this training? If we really want those hallucinations, is he experiencing psychosis due to overuse of steroids or other supplements? Can we see that play out a bit more gradually? Can we get a payoff? You don't need to restate that you gotta be the best, you gotta sacrifice in every fucking scene. We get it. Let's see some more actual football. Highs and lows of performance. Maybe even, I don't know, a game? I think The Wrestler or Love Lies Bleeding would be good sources of inspiration for this to work. And trust me, I'm not saying don't do your own thing. I want to see a film with a unique voice, but you have to focus. We don't all have brain rot. HIM is simply too juvenile to take advantage of its promising concept. The right creative team could make this sensational. In fact, I would love it if you guys commented below with what sport, director, and lead actor or actress you would like to see. I think all of us could come up with something better. So what horror movies do you think should have been better? How would you fix them? Comment below and click the Patreon link below to support the channel. Next week, I'll be uploading my yearly video of 6 horror films that are actually scary, so stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for watching.